Before getting into anything, just want to quickly mention the Discord. It's the best place to be to keep up to date everything speedrunning wise, to keep up to date with the newest resources, to just generally chat to people if you need any help about any routes, save states, anything like that. Everyone there is really kind, just have a look at that. And something else is Jamie's written entire guide, if you'd prefer to look at that instead of watching this video. It goes a bit further in depth than I do, and it has absolutely everything you'd need to look at. Now, the first thing you're probably going to need is Livesplit. If you don't know what Livesplit is, this is how every speedrun pretty much ever is recorded. It'll let you have auto splits to make sure that your run is timed properly. It'll let you compare times with others. It's got a lot of nice features, and this is going to be the way that your speedrun is timed. So what we're going to do is going to head over to downloads. I'm going to download the newest version of Livesplit. For it to work with the auto split of Silksong, you need to make sure your Livesplit is at least 1.8.34 or later. This is the update where the Silksong auto split was introduced to Livesplit, so make sure you at the very least have this version or newer of Livesplit. I'm going to download it, and I'm just going to put everything I download today into a nice little folder. I'm just going to call that Silksong tutorial, just so I know where all of my speedrunning resources are. Just going to keep everything nice and clean together. So once you've downloaded Livesplit, it'll come in a little zipped folder like this. You'll need WinRAR to open it. Chances are you probably already know what WinRAR is if you've gotten this far, if you've become interested in speedrunning. WinRAR is just a simple little program. It's free to download. It helps you open up zipped folders, which pretty much everything you download today will be in a zipped folder, so you'll need WinRAR in order to open them and access them. Once you've got WinRAR, once you've got Livesplit, so what we're going to do is we're going to right click it, I'm going to go down to the WinRAR section, and I'm going to click extract to Livesplit like this. It's going to create a nice little folder where your Livesplit is contained. Inside this folder, this here, this .exe is your Livesplit program. So we're going to open that up. A few of the resources you download Windows will not like. This is just a quirk of Windows where a lot of the resources you're going to download, it's just not going to like. I promise you everything that I show you is going to be safe. So we're just going to hit run anyway. And you might get a second prompt where you'll need to hit yes. And then you should get your little tiny timer. This is what your Livesplit's going to look like at first. If we right click on Livesplit and hit edit splits, this is where you're going to see the main menu for your run, kind of. Up here where the game name is, this is where we're going to put, it might take a second to load. There we go, it took a second to load, but this is where we're going to put Hollow Knight, there it is, Hollow Knight Silksong. Depending on the category you run, you might need to pick the category extensions, but for the majority of people, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to pick Hollow Knight Silksong in your category. For the sake of the tutorial, I'm just going to pick any %, but again, this is whichever category you're choosing to run. And then for your Livesplit to automatically do your splits for you, we're just going to hit activate on the auto splitter here. And then you'll be able to see in the settings that your auto split has a start and an end, and if you want, that is the bare minimum that you basically need to time your run. But the chances are you're probably going to want a proper set of splits. I'll show you where to go those now. So we're going to head to Hollow Knight Split Maker. This works for both Hollow Knight and Silksong. You'll see there's two different tabs, one for Hollow Knight, one for Silksong. I'm going to choose the Silksong one. Then you're going to see here there's a few different categories that you can choose from. Again, this is just going to be whichever route you're running. Currently the most popular route is the any % bells route. That might change in the future. Just pick the route that you want. So I'm going to pick the bells route. So just as a side note, in this bottom left box you are able to edit and change your splits. If you don't know what you're doing, maybe don't mess with it, but you can just type in the splits that you want and it'll underline it in yellow if it's wrong. You can just change this how you like to if you feel like you need to. Then you're going to hit generate. Then over here, you'll see that a bunch of text has popped up. We're going to hit download. And again, I'm just going to pop that in the same folder. And then you can name it whatever you want. So I'm going to call this bellsroute.lss. And I'm just going to save that into a nice little folder where I've got all my speedrunning stuff. So once you have your splits downloaded, we're going to right click on our timer again, open splits from file, and you're going to click that .lss file that you just downloaded. You might be asked if you want to save your previous layout. If you want to, you can, you don't need to. But otherwise, now you should see you have a lot of different splits for each of the different sections of the run. And again, if we head into settings on the auto splitter, you should now see that each of the splits in the auto splitter matches up with each of the splits on your timer. So you have one for starting the game, one for beating Moss Mother, one for picking up Silk Spear, so on and so forth, and the timer will stop when the credits roll. Additionally, to double check that you are comparing against game time, so this means that your load times are removed to ensure a fair run, you're going to right click, compare against, and make sure this here is set to game time. And now your live split and auto split should be ready for the game to run. So now that we're in game, I'm just going to start a new run. I'm going to start game, I'm going to start a new run. And hopefully, if you've done everything right, the timer should start automatically, which will happen just after the first two cutscenes. Again, timings to this may change. Previously there was a patch where the time started when you binded, but currently the way the time starts is when the gameplay starts. There we go. See that the timer's started. And then you'll see, just if we've defeated Moss Mother then and gone through to the next area, our Moss Mother split is automatically split, and that'll continue to do so every time you do something significant in the run. It should split automatically. Chances are though, you're probably not going to want to immediately start running. You're probably going to want to know how to practice certain routes, practice certain bosses. You're going to probably want some tools for getting ready for a run, learning it, practicing it. And we're going to do that by modding our game and getting the Silksong debug menu and the save states you can get with it, along with a Quickwarp mod that lets you teleport around the map. So in order to start modding Silksong, the first thing you're going to need is BepInEx. If you've modded games before, you'll know what this is, but this is basically your entry point into modding Silksong. So we're just going to get the newest version for your system. For me, I'm on Windows, so I'm going to get the Windows by 64 version. And again, I'm just going to save that in my little tutorial folder. So similarly to Livesplit, it'll come in a zipped folder. You'll just need to extract it in the same way we did before. And what you'll see is inside the folder, it'll have these files here. This is your sort of modding base for Silksong. This is BepInEx. This is what will let you start modding the game. So we're going to put these files in the install folder for Silksong. So the easiest way of finding that is with the Steam version. If you have other versions of the game, you just need to find where your install of Silksong is. But with Steam, we're just going to right click, manage, browse local files, and that'll take you to the install folder of Silksong. And then all we're going to do is we're going to take BepInEx and all of these files here, and we're going to put them into your Silksong download. There we go. So then once you have BepInEx in your Silksong folder, you're going to launch the game once. This is important because this will generate your plugins folder and the BepInEx configuration, otherwise it just will not work. So we're literally just going to launch Silksong, wait a little bit, and then quit Silksong. That is it. BepInEx will have now generated its configuration folders, and you'll be able to double check that it has by going into the BepInEx folder, and you'll see it'll have generated these files here, including your plugins folder. So now that we have BepInEx set up, you'll want to grab the Silksong debug menu. So with the debug menu, you'll want to grab the latest release. You'll see that this one says pre-release, so it's not quite finished yet, but you'll see this one says latest release. This might change. This might be updated and different by the time you see this video. So you want to grab the latest release. So I'm going to go down here to the debugmod.zip. I'm going to download that. So now that you have the debug mod downloaded, again, it'll be in a zipped folder. We're just going to right click it and extract it, same as the others. And you'll see that we have the debug mod here. Inside of this folder, there'll be two more folders, one that says debug mod, one that says Silksong mod list, These are going to go into your plugins folder. So remember, in our Hollow Knight install folder, into BepInEx, into plugins, this is where these two are going to go. Additionally, you're probably going to want to grab the Quickwarp mod. This is just a really nice little mod that lets you teleport around the Silksong map to get wherever you want for whatever reason. It's just a really handy tool. So we're going to download the Quickwarp zip, again, the latest version. I'm going to extract it. And inside this Quickwarp folder will just be a file called Quickwarp, and again, that is going inside our plugins folder. So our Silksong download, BepInEx, plugins, you can just pop the Quickwarp folder in here. Make sure you're not putting this one in here, make sure you're putting this one in here. I know it's a little bit confusing because it's a folder in a folder, but just make sure you're putting this one, which will have the DLL inside, into your plugins folder. You'll know you've installed everything correctly when you go back in game, and you'll be able to see that in the top left your mods will be listed here and their version numbers. When you're in game, you can hit F1 and this will show you the debug menu. It's a lot to take in. I won't go fully in depth into it, but Jamie's guide in the description does go further into depth than I do. I'll just be showing you how to use the save states mainly. As for the Quickwarp mods, you can hit F5 and then it'll give you a list of all of the different locations in the game, and you can just teleport to whichever one you want. Let's say I want to go to Deep Docks and I want to go to the Forge room. And you know, here we are at that specific room. There is a map on the Discord with all of the room names, just because obviously you probably don't know exactly which room is called what, but again, that'll be in the Discord if you need it to help teleporting around. But yeah, the debug menu and Quickwarp together, just very nice to be able to mess around with the game. There's cheats, there's tools, there's skills, you know, you can give yourself whatever you need. And I'll show you how to set up the save states now. So in Jamie's setup guide, if you go up here to the README section, and then we scroll down, you'll see there's some save states here that are available. If you're after other specific save states for, you know, specific runs, you know, like 100% run or all bosses run or whatever, head over to the Discord. People will probably have those made already, or you may have to make your own. But for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just going to download this one. And when you've downloaded that, we're just going to do the same, extracting it like we did the others. And inside the folder, you'll see something like this. And inside that folder will be the save state pages. I'll show you what that looks like in game in a moment. And inside each of the pages is some save states that people have already made for you. And where we're going to put this is in your app data folder. Again, if you've modded games before, you know what your app data folder is and where it is, but if you don't, I'm just going to show you now. Your app data folder will default to this PC, your C drive, users, whichever user you are, and there should be a folder here called app data. If you don't see that, it's probably because you have hidden files disabled. All you're going to do is hit view, show hidden items, and then it should pop up. Inside app data, we're going to go to local low. We're going to find Team Cherry, because they're the people that made Silksong. Hollow Knight Silksong. And here you'll see the debug mod data folder. If you don't see this, just make sure you've ran the game once after you've installed the debug mod, and then this should appear. And inside the debug mod data, you should see a file called current save state, or save states current patch. If you don't see this folder, that's fine. You can just drag and drop the one that's been made for you. So I'm going to drag this in here. I'm going to hit yes to replacing, If you might not need to do that, it might just do it straight away. And now all of your save states will be stored in this folder. I'll show you what that looks like in game now. So when you've loaded up into the game, you're going to hit F1 to see the debug menu. I'm going to go over to this section up here called save states. If you hit file load, you'll see that all of your save states will appear, and you can go left and right through these pages for whichever save state you want to use. Let's say, for example, I want to practice the Lace 1 fight. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 9. And here we are at the Lace 1 fight. To practice it if I wanted to. Let's say, for example, I wanted to practice the Beastfly Pogo. So again, file load, left and right through the pages. I want to practice the Beastfly Pogo, so I'm going to hit 2. And here we are at the Beastfly Pogo. So to make your life a little bit easier, instead of having to load it every single time from this save states, file load, blah, 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 you can set it to a keybind. So what I'm going to do is on page 2 of this binds menu, you can see where it says load file to quickslot. I'm going to press this white button, and then I'm going to bind it to whatever you want on your keyboard. I'll bind it to P. So when I press P, it'll bring up save states menu. Hunter's Arena 7, so I'm going to hit 7, and now you should find that that is loaded to your quickslot. So we're going to bind our quickslot load to a button. I'm going to say, I don't know, L. So that's L on my keyboard. So now when I press L, I go to the Hunter's Arena, and every single time, I don't know, I fail this fight, I don't do very well, I can hit L and it'll reset. I want to practice it again, I can hit L, and here we are again. Then when you want to change that, you can hit P. Let's say now I want to do the Bell Beast, hit 4. And so now the Bell Beast is loaded into our quick slot, so we'll hit L. And here we're at the Bell Beast. Let's say you do a Bell Beast fight, you don't do very well, you want to try again, L. Bell Beast fight, you didn't do very well, you want to try again, L. Just so you don't have to, go into the menu every single time. Something that is really important when you want to eventually submit a run to speedrun.com is that you cannot have any mods enabled. So the mods that I've just explained how to set up and how to use, those are for practice only. If you have mods enabled and try to submit a run, it'll be immediately declined. Even if you have mods enabled but you don't use them, it'll be declined. Simple as that. So to turn your mods on and off, there's 3 different methods. Method number 1, which is kind of the lazy method. We're going to go to our Silksong download folder. So again, easiest way to get there, Steam, Manage, Browse Local Files. And where we put our BepInEx install, you're literally just going to take it out of that folder. Next time you launch the game, you won't have mods. Want to turn them back on? Put your BepInEx folder back in here. Now the next time you launch the game, you will have mods. And that's kind of the lazy way of doing it. Another method is creating a separate Steam launch for your modded version of the game. For other versions of the game, you will just be basically creating a second copy. For Steam, I'll show you how to set this up now. So to set that up, we're going to right click on our copy of Silksong in Steam. I'm going to go to Properties, and in this Launch Options bar here, you're going to type -- doorstop, oops, if I spell it right, doorstop - enabled space false. I'm just going to hit enter, and then you can close this. And what that's going to do is when you launch this version of Silksong, it's not going to launch the mods with it. This is just going to be a clean, normal copy of Silksong. And so now what we're going to do to get the modded version of Silksong, we're going to add a game, add a non-Steam game. You're going to find where your install of Silksong is. Again, that'll be in your Steam folder. So this will default to your C drive, program files, Steam apps. Oh, there it is, Steam apps, common, and then look for Silksong. There it is, Hollow Knight Silksong. I'm going to click the exe of Silksong and press open. And then we're going to click add selected programs. This will now create a second copy of Hollow Knight Silksong. So you see you have your main one and you have this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Properties and I'm going to rename it. I'm just going to say that this is Hollow Knight Silksong modded, just to remind myself. Additionally, what you're going to need to do is in your Silksong download folder, so again, in here, we're going to add a text document, and all that's inside this text document is this, and you're going to name it steam_appid.text. There's a link in the description if you just want to download a copy of this instead of making your own, but literally all it is a notepad text document with this written inside it and named steam_appid.txt. And so now when we launch this version of the game, you'll see that none of the mods appear in the top left, so you'll know that this is your clean version of the game that is safe to play on with no mods. And you'll see when we launch this version of the game, you'll see on the top left our mods are there. So this is the modded install. You cannot submit runs if you've recorded this version of the game. This is for practice only. Now, what a couple of you might be saying is, well, even though I've got all this nice stuff set up, I have no idea how to record a run. I'm not going to go super in-depth into absolutely everything, but I'm just going to do the basics of what most people do. Is most people will use OBS. It's a free recording software. It's what pretty much everyone uses to record and stream gameplay. Yours will, when you install it, yours will look something like this. Might look a little bit different, but it should be, majority should be the same. You'll have your scenes down here. You'll probably only have one scene when you first use it. You have your sources here. This is where we're going to put our timer, our gameplay, and anything else extra that you might want to add. So you're going to make sure Silksong is, booted up, ready to go. You're going to make sure that Livesplit is booted up, ready to go. And then you're going to launch your OBS. And down here in this box called Sources, you're going to add window capture. Let's call this one Silksong. And the window we're going to capture is Hollow Knight Silksong. The capture method, if you see that your game's kind of frozen, not moving, not recording, change your capture method. The one that works for me is this one here. As you can see now, it's actually recording the gameplay properly. We're going to tick this box that says capture audio, and you'll see down here our audio for Silksong is just picked up, and then we're just going to hit OK. Mine looks a bit like this because I have two different monitors. One of them's bigger than the other, so I'm just going to resize this so that the game fits into the window. There we go, fits nicely into the window. Then I'm going to add another source, another window capture. I'm going to name this one timer for our timer, and the window we're going to select is Livesplit. Again, capture method, I'm going to hit this one, and then I'm going to hit OK, and you can put your Livesplit somewhere that's out of the way. As a general rule, you cannot be covering any of your HUD elements, so you can't cover Hornet's health or her silk amount, you can't cover your rosary amount, you can't cover your shard amount, and you can't cover your game version when you're showing that at the start of your run. If your timer or HUD extra elements that you add here are covering too much of the screen, that's another reason that your run might get disqualified, because if they can't see what's going on over there, then they're not going to know if you're doing something dodgy. The ways to get around this is to just make your timer smaller so it's not covering much of the screen, or you could resize your gameplay so it's not covering any of your screen, or a popular option that a lot of people like to do is they like to make their Livesplit transparent. So a way of doing that is on our source for our timer, we're going to right click, add a filter, and then you can add a colour key. I'm going to hit OK, I'm going to change the colour, custom colour, select colour, pick screen colour, and then just take the colour of whatever your background is for your Livesplit. Hit OK, and then you'll notice that Livesplit has now gone transparent, so it's only showing the the names and the times. And then what you can do is you can literally just start recording, and then when you've done your run and you're happy with it, you can stop recording, and that should default to just the video folder on your computer. That might not always be the case, so you can double check in your file, settings, output, and here it'll show you where it's sending your recordings. You can change this if you want to, but I'm not going to get super in depth into it. That's the basics. Another thing you might see people using is a very fancy input overlay. I'll show you how to set that up now too. So the input overlay is a plugin for OBS. There's multiple tutorials on the page for it already. If you want to follow those, I'm just going to show you how to specifically set up the nice looking Silksong one that you might be seeing. So I'm going to go to the GitHub link here. I'm going to go to releases, and then I'm going to grab the Windows installer because I'm on Windows. And then when you get the Windows installer, after it's finished downloading, you're just going to double click it. You're going to hit yes, and it's going to pop up with this little installer. Just make your way through this, next, install. It's not very happy with me because I have OBS open and I already have the plugin downloaded as well. But just make your way through this setup, and once you've made your way through the setup, you'll probably have to close and reopen OBS, and then you'll see up here in Tools, you should see this setting called Input Overlay Settings. And then make sure that these two options are ticked. So if you're using a controller, this one needs to be ticked. If you're using mouse and keyboard, this one needs to be ticked. Then we're just going to hit OK. And then similar to before, we're going to add to our sources, and we're going to add an input overlay. Just going to hit OK. And then currently it's empty, so we need to get our image file and our config file. So on Google Drive, you'll see there's 3 different folders and a little README. This README will explain to you how to change the keybinds on the input overlay if that's something you need to do. So if you notice when you're hitting buttons and the overlay isn't lighting up, make your way through these instructions and I'll explain how to change the keybinds on there. These first 2 folders are for controller, and this 3rd folder is for keyboard. I'm going to grab this first one because that's the one that I like most. I'm going to download this picture and this JSON file. Once you have those downloaded, I'm just going to extract them. And then inside the folder, you should see the picture and the JSON. So back in OBS, you're going to pick the image file that you just downloaded, and you're going to pick the config file, the JSON file that you just downloaded. And you should see that it's tidied itself up and looks quite nice. If you're using a controller, under Gamepad ID, make sure you select your controller. I actually need to turn my controller on, hang on. There we go, there's my controller. Then I'm going to hit OK. And now you should see that when you start hitting buttons on your controller or your keyboard, they should start lighting up. Obviously this isn't necessary, this is just a nice extra little tip if it's something that you want to add. And again, just make sure it's not covering too much of your screen. I might actually make that a bit smaller. When you've completed a run, you will need to upload it to YouTube before you can submit it to speedrun.com. Either YouTube or Bilibili is accepted, but upload it to YouTube. It's the one that most people know, the most people use. Here's Nebula's current world record run. He is absolutely insane. But yeah, upload your run to YouTube, and then when you go through the submission form on speedrun.com, you will provide your link to your YouTube video. So after you've recorded your run, you're happy with it, you want to upload it to the leaderboards, you're going to head to speedrun.com, you're going to search for Silksong, it'll lead you to this page. You'll need to have an account, so you'll need to sign up and make yourself an account. Then you can hit submit run, and it'll bring you to this sheet where you'll fill in the information for your run. So the category you're running, subcategory you're running, your account, the LRT time, so this is the time that the auto split timer will give you, and the real attack time, the RTA time. This is basically just going to be your full time without the load removes, so that'll in essence just be the length of your recording, I suppose. The video URL to the YouTube video where you've uploaded your run, the patch that you're running on, the date that you completed the run, the platform that you completed the run on, and if you want, you can add a little description or some notes that you need or want a moderator to see. Not super necessary, but if you want to add something else, you can. Then you hit submit. And hopefully that's covered almost anything you would need or want to know about speedrunning Silksong. If you still have issues with anything, if you need help with anything, pop into the Discord. That's probably going to be the best place to look for help. But otherwise, best of luck with your runs.